I was 8 years old, watching my mother count food stamps at the kitchen table. $27 left for the rest of the month. $27. I made a promise that night that would change everything. Today, I am going to tell you the story of how I went from that kitchen table to running the finance division for a billionaire. And more importantly, I am going to break down the exact mindset shifts that separated me from everyone else who stayed trapped in poverty. See, growing up poor teaches you something that wealth never can. It teaches you that comfort is a luxury you can't afford. While my classmates were playing video games after school, I was at the library. Not because I was naturally smarter, but because I understood something they didn't. Desperation is the ultimate motivator. I remember being 12 years old, walking into our local bank with my mother. The teller looked at her with this mixture of pity and annoyance as she tried to explain why the overdraft fees were wrong. My mom was brilliant. She had 2 degrees. But the system had beaten her down so much that she couldn't even look the banker in the eye. That's when it hit me. Money isn't just about buying things. Money is about respect. Money is about options. Money is about never having to explain why you deserve basic human dignity. So I made another promise. I would learn everything about money that they didn't teach us in school. And let me tell you something, when you grow up poor, you don't have the luxury of taking your time to find yourself. By 16, I was reading every finance book I could get my hands on. Warren Buffett, Benjamin Graham, Ray Dalio. I wasn't just reading for good grades. I was reading like my life depended on it. Because it did. I studied finance in college, but here's what they don't tell you: college teaches you theory. The real education happens when you start solving actual problems. So while my peers were worried about internship prestige, I was focused on one thing: how can I make myself indispensable? I landed that job at the asset management firm straight out of college. $1.2 trillion under management. Do you know what it feels like to walk into a building where single decisions move more money than most countries' GDP? But here's the thing that separated me from every other new hire. While they were trying to impress their bosses with how smart they were, I was looking for problems to solve. I noticed something. The fund was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on manual processes that could be automated. So I didn't wait for permission. I didn't wait for someone to assign me the project. I just started building the solution. Nights, weekends, lunch breaks. For 3 months, I worked on this tool. My colleagues thought I was crazy. "Why are you doing extra work for free?" they asked. Let me tell you why. Because people who grew up poor understand something that people who grew up comfortable never learn. There's no such thing as extra work when you're trying to change your life. There's only the work that moves you forward and the work that keeps you stuck. When I finally presented that tool, it saved the firm between $300,000 and $400,000 per year. I was promoted after my first year. Not because I was the smartest person in the room, but because I was the hungriest. Like this if that story moved you. But here's where most people stop. They get comfortable. They think they've made it because they have a good job and a steady paycheck. That's not making it. That's just getting started. After 2.5 years, I made a decision that everyone thought was insane. I left that secure, high-paying job to work directly for a billionaire. Why? Because I understood something that my colleagues didn't. You don't get rich working for other people's dreams. You get rich by becoming indispensable to people who are already building empires. Now let me break down the exact principles that made this possible. Because this isn't about luck. This isn't about connections. This is about a completely different way of thinking. Principle number 1: poverty mindset versus abundance mindset through scarcity. Most people think abundance mindset means pretending everything is fine. Wrong. When you grow up poor, you develop something more powerful than abundance mindset. You develop scarcity-driven abundance thinking. What does that mean? It means you understand that opportunities are scarce, so when one appears, you don't just take it, you dominate it. You over-deliver. You make yourself so valuable that losing you would cost them more than paying you. Principle number 2, systems thinking over hustle culture. Everyone talks about working harder. But poor kids learn to work differently. When you can afford to fail, you don't just hustle, you build systems that guarantee success. That tool I created? That wasn't just hard work. That was systems thinking. I identified a problem, designed a solution, and created value that worked whether I was there or not. That's how you become indispensable. Principle number 3, relationship capital over social capital. Rich kids have networks handed to them. Poor kids have to build relationship capital. There's a difference. Social capital is about who you know. Relationship capital is about who trusts you to solve their problems. Every interaction I had, I asked myself, how can I add value to this person's life? Not what can I get from them. How can I help them win? Because when you help successful people win bigger, they remember you when opportunities arise. Principle number 4, ownership mindset over employee mindset. This is the big one. Poor people think in terms of trading time for money. Rich people think in terms of creating value and capturing a percentage of that value. When I built that tool, I wasn't thinking about my hourly wage. I was thinking about becoming the person who could build tools that save companies hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was building my reputation as a problem solver, not just a worker. Now, how do you apply this starting today? Because knowledge without action is just expensive entertainment. Step 1, identify the expensive problems in your current environment. Where you work, where you study, even where you volunteer. What processes are inefficient? What problems cost time or money? Start documenting these. Step 2, pick one problem and become the person who solves it. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for resources. Start with what you have and prove the concept. When you solve problems without being asked, you become indispensable. Step 3, document and scale your solutions. Every problem you solve is a case study. Every system you build is proof of your value. Start building a portfolio of results, not just a resume of responsibilities. Subscribe. I am building a community of people who refuse to stay average. Step 4, network with intention. Stop trying to meet successful people to get something from them. Start trying to meet successful people to solve their problems. When you lead with value, relationships become partnerships. Step 5, think equity, not salary. Every career move should be about building towards ownership. Whether that's equity in a company, ownership of processes, or ownership of relationships that generate value. Look, here's the truth they don't want you to hear. The system is designed to keep poor people poor. Not through conspiracy, but through conditioning. Through teaching you to think like an employee instead of an owner. Through teaching you to be grateful for scraps instead of building your own table. But when you understand the game, when you understand that wealth is about value creation, not time trading, everything changes. You stop asking, how can I get paid more, and start asking, how can I create more value? The kid counting food stamps with his mother didn't just want to escape poverty. He wanted to build something so valuable that poverty could never touch his family again. That's not just about making money. That's about creating systems that generate wealth. And if an 8-year-old watching his mother count $27 in food stamps can go from that kitchen table to running finance for a billionaire, what's your excuse? Stop thinking like someone who needs permission and start thinking like someone who creates opportunities. Stop thinking like someone who trades time for money and start thinking like someone who solves expensive problems. The difference between staying poor and building wealth isn't your background. It's not your connections. It's not even your education. It's your willingness to think like an owner in a world full of employees. Comment I am ready below if you're making a change today. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. Because success isn't just about changing your bank account. Success is about changing your bloodline.